This is inexcusable that a nation that's so prosperous as ours, that 4 years of a presidency has not been able to get America back on track. He can't, he doesn't know how, I know how, and I will get the job done.
You can always tell candidates in Florida when their hair looks a little muffed because of the humidity down there. Governor Mitt Romney down there in the great state of Florida, because it's an all-important swing state. New polls showing after Wednesday's debate, Romney is making big gains in 3 key swing states, including Florida. In the Sunshine State alone, he's up by 2 points right now. In Virginia, he's up by 1. In Ohio, Romney trails the president by only 1 point. Again, within these margin of errors. So what do we make of these polls? Let's ask our political panel this morning. Jedediah Bila is an author and conservative columnist. She is here in, what would you call that, fall?
I call it mustard, but that's because I like
mustard.
food.
Tammy Bruce is in the middle. She's a radio talk show host and Fox News contributor. And Brian Benjamin is a Democratic strategist and Obama campaigned fundraiser. Nice to see all of you this morning. Welcome. Let me get the Democratic perspective first. Sure. Brian, will you concede that the president's performance in Wednesday night's debate has hurt him? We've seen these new polls.
Sure. I think stylistically he had a rough night. But I think on the substance, he really was in a good situation because Mitt Romney made some challenging comments. But I do think, as you talk about some of these polls, we've got 2 presidential debates coming up. We also have the vice presidential debate coming up. There's so many things happening by the end of the month that I think we need to just be patient on the polls.
Tammy, game changer this debate?
Clearly, I think one of the headlines today is Mitt's alive. Mitt Romney did something that was very Reagan-esque. He changed everything just simply by being himself. And he was able to do that in a large part because of a mistake from the Obama campaign, spending $150 million to paint him as the devil incarnate. Essentially, Mitt just really needed to show up and not be the devil in order to have it be a game change, but he did much, much more than that.
That's a great point. And, you know, during the debate, a lot was said that, well, look, he moderated his positions. Mitt Romney was, during the primary season, trying to say he was severely conservative. We all remember those comments. Then suddenly on stage, he's sort of moderated his positions, it seems, on a lot of things. Did that sort of come back to bite the Obama campaign? They spent millions and millions of dollars out there trying to paint him as this far right-wing guy, and he's really not.
Right. Well, he's not a far right-wing guy. He's not an extremist. I didn't really feel as a conservative that he moderated his positions. I think he just highlighted that he's a guy who likes to get things done. He dealt with an 87% Democrat legislature in Massachusetts, and that made him the kind of guy who has to sit down with people on opposing sides of the aisle and say, you know what, we need to fix certain things right now. We need to fix things in the economy. We need to fix things in education, and let's do it. As opposed to the president, that was a great contrast to the president who shoved Obamacare down our throats, who doesn't like to sit down and negotiate with the other side, and who is out there basically saying, if I can't get it done my way, it's not going to get done. So a great contrast there.
That's very unfair. I mean, President Obama and John Boehner, they really tried to work out a deal. The Tea Party said absolutely not, and so we couldn't get a fair deal done last year. But let's talk about where the president is right now. The president is now looking at a situation where unemployment is at 7.8%. I noticed some Republicans are saying, oh, the numbers are not right. But if the numbers were going up, they would say, oh, the numbers are right. But the unemployment is going down. We're moving in the right direction. And if Americans feel like they're moving in the right direction, he is going to do very well.
Tammy, Brian brings up an interesting point about those numbers, because in some of the swing states, including Ohio, that number has been lower than the national average. It's been an asset, it seems, to President Obama going into Ohio. He had been up by a significant margin, though, but Mitt Romney closing the gap there.
Look, it's pretty sad state of affairs after 4 years for people to be excited about 7.8 unemployment. The reality
that's the reality of the situation.
You know, and if we use the same amount of participation in the workforce, it would be at 11%. Americans feel this every day. We don't need to have a candidate tell us what our lives are like. But even in Ohio, after Obama has spent at least $150 million in ads, he is still tied with Romney. So it has not gotten him anything. And I think that's a significant indicator. Now we've watched him surge in Florida, in Iowa, and in Ohio, and he's now ahead in Colorado as well.
But can we make too much of these polls, Jedediah? Because some of the headlines I was reading yesterday was really that these Republicans in these swing states are now coalescing around Mitt Romney. The independents, though, remaining the same for President Obama. That's unchanged, but it's now that Republican enthusiasm gap that wasn't there before. They saw Wednesday night and they said, wait a minute, this is a guy I can get behind. So are these just Republicans showing up in these polls?
No, I mean, Rasmussen bipartisan has independents surging for Mitt Romney, and I think that's really key. If you look at a state like Florida also, you have to realize that these Medi-scare tactics with respect to seniors have not worked. If you look at states like West Virginia, for example, or Ohio, you have to remember that coal miners have suffered enormously as a result of overregulation from the EPA under Barack Obama. All of these things are going to matter. Of course, pocketbook issues, the economy, jobs is going to be #1 across the board, but each state has its own individual priorities as well, and Barack Obama has failed on all counts there as well.
Brian, I'll give you the final word on ground game, because I think it's interesting. In these states, people reporting, there were some different political reporters talking about Florida, that Mitt Romney doesn't have the ground game that President Obama does. Ohio, they've been getting out the vote early. Is it going to be a bigger asset to President Obama?
Absolutely. If you look at Iowa, the absentee ballots, and if you look at what's going on in Ohio with some of the early voting, I think the Democrats traditionally have done very well on the ground game. I think in a tight race, it's going to be very strong for Obama. It's tough to beat an incumbent. And I think with the economy turning around and with how we're looking on foreign policy, where the president has kept us safe by and large, I think it's going to be very tough for Mitt Romney to try to beat President Obama.
We'll leave that there for now, but our political panel is going to stick around for this, because first they called him a felon, now they're calling him a liar, Team Obama. A race for the White House hit a new low. We'll ask you this question, and we report, you decide, coming up. Plus, after Wednesday night's debate, some from the left have been rather critical of Governor Romney. Here's what the DNC Communications Director, Brad Woodhouse, had to say.
There's been plenty of people have pointed out what a liar Mitt Romney is and was last night. I mean, if he was talking, if he was speaking last night, he was lying. And look, Mitt Romney had a good night, but you know, a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then.
So are these dirty attacks, calling Mitt Romney a liar? Is it a good idea for Democrats? We're back with our political panel this morning. Brian, some have suggested this is classless, right, to come out and attack Mitt Romney for lying when clearly the president didn't seem prepared. He seemed shell-shocked up there, and that was the response, right, that he was so shell-shocked that Mitt Romney was lying, that he just didn't know how to respond.
Well, I wouldn't make that point. The point I would make is that Mitt Romney his facts were a little tricky. We can get into that if we have time for that.
Sure.
But first and foremost, let's also include John Sununu in this conversation, Romney's surrogate, who went on television and said that Obama is lazy, he's incompetent, he has no idea what's going on. I mean, on both sides, there have been some comments being made, so let's not make this one-sided when you're talking about these issues.
Is that fair, Tammy?
Well, you know, look, Americans, and I think the Tea Party is a good example of this, want to be told the truth. We have impressions of these guys. Americans are going to make up their own minds. We know that politicians in general haven't been telling us the truth. Obama's problem is, and this is what, again, came up to them on the first debate, is that their portrayal of Mitt Romney is not the impression other people are getting. So the continued negative attacks on their end, you notice it's John Sununu, it's not Mitt Romney saying it. In the instance of the Obama campaign, I think they've got a really tough road, because Americans now realize that he wasn't honest with them about Mitt Romney in the first place. And this seems like kind of sour grapes, because they know who won that debate.
One of the things that came up during the debate, Jedediah, was this $5 trillion and this $5 trillion tax cut back and forth, and the Obama camp trying to paint it as a lie, basically. Listen during the debate.
Governor Romney's central economic plan calls for a $5 trillion tax cut. A $5 trillion tax cut. If you believe that we can cut taxes by $5 trillion, you don't come close to paying for $5 trillion in tax cuts and $2 trillion in additional military spending.
Let me repeat what I said. I'm not in favor of a $5 trillion tax cut. That's not my plan. My plan is not to put in place any tax cut that will add to the deficit.
Jedediah, that response, and there's some back and forth fact-checking on exactly what that means now.
Mitt Romney's going to need to get very, very specific. Right now, people are tired of ambiguity. They're tired of people being vague. He did talk about the deductions. He gave a little bit more detail, but he's going to need to be prepared for Barack Obama to come out with this kind of stuff. I will say, though, independent voters are listening. Generally, independent voters do not like mudslinging from left to right or right to left. What they're interested in right now is solutions. And if Barack Obama is going to pick on Mitt Romney, then he better darn well have some forward thinking and be explaining what he's going to do differently in the next 4 years that makes him worthy of getting reelected. Because if it's the same policies that got us to where 114,000 jobs a month is supposed to be a good thing, then that's an immense failure.
The Obama campaign, though, says that they do have a point, because the Mitt Romney campaign, Brian, came out and had to correct something Mitt Romney said during the debate, which was on this pre-existing condition.
Absolutely.
His own staff came out and had to correct him. So the Obama campaign basically saying he lied during the debate in front of a 65 million person audience, and then his campaign gets to come out quietly and correct it.
Right, and I do agree with a lot of your points. I mean, I think both have to come out and be very clear on some severe specifics. The concern is that when Mitt Romney says he's going to cut taxes for the middle class and not cut taxes for the wealthiest Americans, it's completely false when you look at his plan.
Can I just add
and so
something here, though?
I think real quick. So I think when you talk about that, then he mentioned pre-existing conditions. That's not true. And then you're looking at it and saying, well, wait a minute, what can we trust Mitt Romney? He is laying out a number of issues because he's winning the debate stylistically for sure, but he's giving falsehoods. And Jim Lehrer did not moderate that. Jim Lehrer needs to say, wait a minute, Mitt. These are the facts about your plan as we know it. If you're changing the plan, then let us know that.
Let me just say, I find it fascinating. Your guy has been president for 4 years.
Sure.
And the conversation is trying to get specifics from him. Mitt Romney just a couple of weeks ago started getting even the national security briefings. Here you've got a man who's got a book with his 59 points about what he wants to do. And the argument is between the regular civilian guy who's a businessman about what he's going to do to save the country and a president who's been in the office for 4 years, and we're still trying, we still want specifics from the President of the United States. That's what Americans are realizing. Mitt Romney showed them that he can be president, he's a viable alternative, and until you get into that office, which Romney does not have that benefit, you're going to have to, and who's going to be in the Senate helping to run the country with you? You're going to need to be flexible.
And Jedediah, Tammy brings up an interesting point because President Obama had been, and Team Obama after the debate were saying, we still want specifics from Mitt Romney. We're up here on stage. He even called him out during the debate. We still want specifics. Is that fair? Or
no,
to Tammy's point, should it be the opposite?
It's not fair because Barack Obama, we're still trying to figure out, I mean, this is a man who hasn't even pressed the Senate, the Democrat Senate, to put forth a budget.
Yeah, we haven't had a budget.
So it's absolutely absurd to say that. Now, do I believe that Mitt Romney needs to offer specifics? I do, because I think that's what will inspire confidence in voters. I think the more information they have with respect to education, with respect to the economy, with respect to the how you are going to implement these changes, I think the better. But I think for Barack Obama, who has offered nearly any specifics at all, it's sort of a ridiculous claim.
Brian,
well, I don't think that's necessarily true. The president has said for Americans who are making $250,000 and less, and including wealthiest Americans, he wants to have a tax cut for them. He's had a more fair and balanced approach, in my opinion. And I think Mitt Romney's...
He's not cutting taxes, though, because he's raising taxes on the middle class via Obamacare. You have a ton of tax hikes on the middle class.
This is why we need fact checkers. We need nonpartisan groups like the Tax Policy Center that has said Mitt Romney's numbers are not true. So if a nonpartisan group is making that point, you know,
and the
we've got to look at
CBO
that.
has said what about Obamacare? That it's going to raise taxes on the middle class. So right there you have these conflicting statements.
We got to leave it there. 30 days left, guys. You think you can keep the passion going?
Yes, I can.
Oh, yeah.
Tammy Bruce, Brian Benjamin, Jedediah Bila, great to see you this morning.
Thank
you.